I saved a baby from a burning car. The mom sued me for defamation. The weirdest part was that I almost didn't help. It was a regular Tuesday. I'd finished my shift at the physical therapy clinic and was walking to my car when I heard the crash. A silver SUV had wrapped itself around the big oak tree nearby. Smoke was already coming from under the hood. The driver door opened and a woman stumbled out, holding her phone up like she was recording. She kept screaming about her baby, but she was backing away from the car. I don't know why I ran toward it. I'm not brave. I'm the person who calls maintenance to kill spiders. I pulled the back door open and saw a toddler strapped in her car seat. The smoke was getting thicker. The heat made my eyes water. I fumbled with the buckles, my hands shaking so bad I could barely work the release. The little girl was screaming and I kept saying, it's okay, even though nothing about this was okay. I got her out somehow. Then something exploded and there was pain in my arm and neck. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground holding this kid while strangers pulled us away from the burning car. The hospital was a blur. 3rd-degree burns on my right arm, shoulder, and neck. Part of my ear was gone. They said I might not get full use of my hand back, which was terrifying since I needed both hands for my job. The little girl was fine though. Her mom, Tessa, visited once. I recognized her from around town. She ran those mommy groups at the community center, had a blog about organic parenting or something. She thanked me for saving her daughter, then asked me not to talk to anyone about the accident. Said she couldn't afford bad publicity. I was pretty drugged up and just wanted to sleep, so I agreed. Things got weird after that. People started avoiding me at the grocery store. My coworker mentioned she'd heard I was milking the accident for attention. Someone keyed my car. The owner of my apartment building asked if I was involved in any legal issues when I went to renew my lease. Then I got served with papers. Tessa was suing me for defamation and emotional distress. According to her lawyer, I'd been spreading lies about saving her daughter, and it was hurting her parenting business. I sat on my bathroom floor and cried for an hour. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I could barely afford my medical bills. My dominant hand was still basically useless, and I was only working part-time. The only person who helped was Mrs. Delaney, this sweet old lady who'd seen the crash from her porch. She told me Tessa had been on her phone when she hit the tree, that I'd run into the fire while Tessa ran away. She offered to tell anyone who'd listen. I found a lawyer who'd work for almost nothing. While prepping my case, my lawyer got the footage from the wine bar down the street from the accident. It showed Tessa leaving at noon, getting in her car while video chatting on her phone. Her lawyers contacted mine about settling. They wanted me to apologize publicly and sign something saying I'd never talk about it again. The meeting was in this sterile conference room downtown. Tessa brought her husband David. He looked miserable and kept staring at his hands. Tessa scrolled through her phone while the lawyers talked. I didn't plan what happened next. I just got angry. Really, truly angry for the first time since the accident. I pulled out all the evidence my lawyer had found. The security footage, the data from her car showing she was speeding, statements from other moms who'd seen her drinking at some morning event. Tessa's face went gray. David looked like he might throw up. I told them to drop the lawsuit and pay my medical bills, or I'd make sure everyone knew the truth. They paid. I thought that was the end of it. That was 3 months ago. My hand is getting better slowly. I can work 4 days a week now. I was doing my exercises tonight when someone knocked on my door. It was David. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. I'm sorry to bother you, he said. I found something. I almost didn't let him in, but he looked so lost. He showed me screenshots from their doorbell camera going back months. Tessa stumbling to the car with Ella. Tessa backing into things. Tessa carrying drinks to the car in the morning. I installed a camera in her car last week, he said quietly. Look at this. The video was from yesterday. Tessa was swerving while Bella cried in the backseat. She yelled at her to shut up while she looked for her medicine. I need help, David said. My lawyer says I need more evidence for full custody, and I need someone who knows what she's capable of. Will you help me? I stared at David's desperate face, my stomach churning. The apartment suddenly felt too small. I walked to the kitchen and grabbed 2 glasses of water, buying myself time to think. My burned hand trembled as I set one in front of him. I don't know if I can do this, I said, sitting across from him at my tiny dining table. Your wife already tried to destroy my life once. David rubbed his eyes. She's getting worse. Yesterday she forgot to pick Bella up from daycare. They called me at work. When I confronted her, she said I was being controlling. He pulled out more videos on his phone. Tessa weaving through traffic. Tessa passed out on the couch while Bella played unsupervised. Tessa mixing something into her morning smoothie that definitely wasn't protein powder. My lawyer says the court favors mothers, David continued. Even with all this, they might just order supervised visits or rehab. I need someone who will testify about what really happened that day. I flexed my damaged hand, feeling the tight pull of scar tissue. The physical therapy exercises were helping, but I'd never have full range of motion again. All because I'd run toward that burning car while Tessa ran away. What exactly do you need from me? I asked. Documentation, witness statements, help me build a case that shows a pattern. David leaned forward. I've been tracking everything for weeks, but I need someone else who sees what's happening. Someone credible. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. Is this the woman who saved the little girl? The voice was female. Nervous. Who is this? I'm Sarah, from Tessa's mommy group. I heard you might be willing to talk about what really happened. I glanced at David. He mouthed, speakerphone. I can't really discuss. She's been drinking at our morning meetings. Sarah interrupted. Puts vodka in her coffee thermos. We've all noticed, but nobody wants to say anything because she runs the whole program. But after what happened to you, some of us are worried about Bella. My heart raced. Would you be willing to make a statement? Maybe. There are 3 other moms who feel the same way. Can we meet? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop the next day. After I hung up, David was already typing notes into his phone. This is good, he said. Really good. My lawyer will want to talk to them. Over the next hour, David showed me everything he'd documented. Receipts from liquor stores, text messages where Tessa blamed him for her drinking, photos of empty bottles hidden around their house. It painted a picture of someone spiraling out of control. When did it get this bad? I asked. It's been building for years, but after the accident, after you saved Bella, David's voice cracked. She became obsessed with controlling the narrative, spent more time managing her image than taking care of our daughter. He left around 10, but not before installing a secure messaging app on my phone. For documentation, he explained. Everything needs to be properly recorded. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back at that burning car, pulling Bella free while her mother stood back recording on her phone. The next morning, I met Sarah and 3 other women at the coffee shop. They all had stories. Tessa showing up smelling like alcohol. Tessa nodding off during story time. Tessa asking other moms to watch Bella because she had errands that always took hours. We thought about reporting it, one woman named Lisa said, but she knows everyone. She'd spin it like we we were jealous or trying to take over her business. I recorded everything on my phone, getting their permission first. They agreed to speak with David's lawyer. As I walked back to my car, my phone rang. Tessa, I know what you're doing, she said without preamble. David told me everything. You're trying to steal my family. Tessa, I'm not trying to. I have lawyers too. Good ones. If you testify against me, I'll make what happened before look like nothing. I'll sue you for stalking, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. I'll make sure you never work as a physical therapist again. The line went dead. I sat in my car, shaking. But this time, it wasn't from fear. It was anger. I forwarded the recording to David immediately. That afternoon, I had physical therapy for my hand. My therapist, Johnny, noticed my tension immediately. Rough day? He asked, manipulating my fingers. You could say that. As he worked on my hand, I thought about Bella, that terrified little girl I'd pulled from a burning car. Did she remember that day? Did she know her mother had walked away while she burned? My phone buzzed constantly throughout the session. David sending updates, his lawyer wanting to schedule meetings, Sarah forwarding screenshots of concerning posts from Tessa's social media. By the time I got home, I had 17 missed calls from unknown numbers. My voicemail was full of messages, some supportive, others threatening. Word was spreading fast in our small town. I was heating up soup when someone pounded on my door. Through the peephole, I saw Tessa. She looked disheveled, her usually perfect hair tangled, makeup smeared. Open up, she shouted. I know you're in there. I didn't move. You ruined everything, her words slurred together. My business, my reputation, and now you want my daughter too? I heard a crash. She'd thrown something at my door, then footsteps running away. I called David immediately. Your wife just came to my apartment. She's hammered. Where's Bella? Was his first question. I don't know. She was alone. I heard him swear. I'm at work. Can you? He stopped. No, I can't ask you to do that. Ask me what? Check if Bella's at daycare. They close in 30 minutes. I grabbed my keys without thinking. The daycare was only 10 minutes away. When I arrived, the director looked relieved to see me. Are you here for Bella? We've been trying to reach her parents for an hour. My heart sank. Call David. Tell him I'm taking her to my apartment. He can pick her up there. Bella remembered me. As soon as she saw me, she reached out her little arms. Helper lady, she said. I buckled Bella into my back seat, her tiny fingers clutching a stuffed elephant. The drive back to my apartment took longer than usual because I kept checking my mirrors, paranoid that Tessa might be following us. Bella chatted happily about her day, completely unaware of the chaos surrounding her. David arrived 20 minutes later, still in his work clothes. He swept Bella into his arms, holding her like he might never let go. While he got her settled with some crackers and a cartoon on my laptop, I made coffee with my good hand. She's been tracking me, David said quietly once Bella was distracted. I found an app on my phone yesterday. She knows everywhere I go. My blood ran cold. How long? Months, maybe longer. My lawyer thinks she might have put something on your phone too when she visited you in the hospital. I grabbed my phone, suddenly feeling violated. David helped me check for tracking apps, but we couldn't find anything obvious. Still, the damage was done. Every text, every call, every meeting location, Tessa might know about all of it. The next few days blurred together. I went to work, trying to act normal while my phone buzzed with updates from David and the other moms. Sarah had convinced 2 more women to come forward. One had photos of Tessa stumbling at a playground. Another had saved voicemails where Tessa's words slurred together while arranging playdates. Thursday morning, I woke to find my car wouldn't start. The mechanic said someone had put sugar in the gas tank. While I waited for the repairs, Mrs. Delaney called. She'd seen someone near my car around 3 in the morning. The description matched Tessa. I started taking different routes to work, parking in different spots. My coworkers noticed my paranoia. Johnny pulled me aside during lunch, concerned about the dark circles under my eyes. I wanted to tell him everything, but David's lawyer had advised keeping quiet until they filed the custody papers. That evening, David texted asking if I could watch Bella again. Tessa had disappeared that morning, and the daycare wouldn't release Bella to anyone but authorized contacts. I was apparently still on the list from when I'd picked her up before. Bella seemed quieter this time. She kept asking for her mommy, and I had to bite my tongue to keep from saying something I'd regret. We colored pictures and read stories until David arrived, looking haggard. She emptied our joint savings account, he said once Bella was asleep on my couch. $12,000 gone. The bank says since her name was on it, there's nothing they can do. He showed me security footage from their bank. Tessa had walked in that morning, calm and collected. Nothing like the disheveled woman who'd pounded on my door. She'd chatted with the teller, even laughed at something they said. It was chilling how normal she appeared. My lawyer filed the emergency custody petition today, David continued, but she needs to be served. We can't find her. Over the next week, Tessa became a ghost. She'd show up at random times, spotted at the grocery store by Sarah, seen driving past the daycare by another mom, caught on security cameras at various ATMs withdrawing cash. But whenever David or his process server arrived, she was gone. The other moms started getting nervous. Lisa called to say she'd gotten a letter from a lawyer about defamation. Sarah's husband found their car tires slashed. The woman with the playground photos suddenly decided she didn't want to be involved anymore. I understood their fear. My own life was unraveling. My landlord informed me that someone had filed multiple noise complaints against me. My boss received an anonymous letter claiming I was stealing medications from the clinic. Each accusation was false but required time and energy to disprove. Then things escalated. I was leaving work late on a Wednesday when I noticed my car listing to one side. 2 tires had been slashed. As I called for a tow truck, a police cruiser pulled up. The officer said they'd received a report of someone matching my description vandalizing vehicles in the parking lot. It took an hour to convince them to check the security footage, which clearly showed me inside the building when the damage occurred, but the seed of suspicion had been planted. My coworkers looked at me differently now. David was faring no better. He called me frantic after police showed up at his office. Someone had reported seeing him hit Bella in a parking lot. The investigation found nothing, but his employer put him on administrative leave pending review. She's trying to make us both look unstable, he said during one of our encrypted app conversations. My lawyer says it's a common tactic. If she can't win, she'll make sure everyone loses. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Delaney called me on a Saturday morning, whispering like she was sharing state secrets. That woman, Tessa, she's been staying at the Riverside Motel, she said. My nephew works maintenance there. She's registered under a fake name, paying cash. David's process server finally caught up with her that afternoon. The custody hearing was set for the following Friday. 5 days to prepare for what would either save Bella or condemn her to more chaos. But Tessa wasn't done. Monday morning, I arrived at work to find police cars in the parking lot. My boss met me at the door, her face grave. There's been an incident, she said. Someone broke into the medication storage over the weekend. The security footage. It showed shows someone who looks like you. My legs nearly gave out. I knew immediately what had happened. Tessa had somehow gotten footage of me, maybe from the hospital, maybe from somewhere else, and doctored it, or found someone who looked similar. It didn't matter. The damage was done. I was suspended pending investigation. Without work, I couldn't afford my lawyer. Without my lawyer, I couldn't effectively help David. It was a brilliant, cruel strategy. David picked me up from the police station after 5 hours of questioning. Bella was in the back seat, and seeing her little face made everything clear. This wasn't about me or David or even Tessa anymore. It was about a little girl who deserved better than this chaos. My lawyer has an idea, David said as we drove, but it's risky. The plan was simple. Document everything in real time. Create an undeniable record of Tessa's behavior that couldn't be dismissed or twisted. David's lawyer had connected us with a private investigator who specialized in custody cases. For the next 3 days, we became detectives in our own lives. The investigator taught us how to legally record interactions, how to preserve evidence, how to create unbreakable chains of documentation. Every threat, every incident, every sighting was meticulously cataloged. Wednesday afternoon, everything went sideways. I was at the grocery store buying supplies for the week when my phone rang. David, hysterical. Bella's gone, he gasped. The daycare says Tessa picked her up an hour ago. She had paperwork, said there was a family emergency. My heart stopped. The custody hearing was in 2 days. If Tessa ran with Bella now, we might never find them. Did you call the police? I asked, already heading for my car. They say it's not kidnapping since she's the mother. Without the custody order, their hands are tied. I drove to David's house, my mind racing. Tessa had been planning this. The fake residence, the cash withdrawals, the systematic destruction of our credibility. It all led to this moment. David was on his laptop when I arrived, frantically checking Tessa's social media, email accounts he still had access to, anything that might give us a clue. His hands shook as he typed. She's not stupid enough to use credit cards, he muttered, but she needs somewhere to go. She can't just disappear. Then I remembered something. During one of Tessa's mommy group sessions months ago, she'd mentioned a cabin her family owned up north, said it was her escape when she needed to think. Sarah had mentioned it too, said Tessa had talked about taking Bella there for a digital detox weekend. The cabin, I said. Does Tessa's family have a cabin? David's eyes widened. Her parents' place. It's about 3 hours north. She used to go there when we fought. We called his lawyer, who advised against going ourselves, but the private investigator was willing to drive up and check. The wait was excruciating. David paced his living room while I sat on the couch, my burned hand throbbing from stress. 2 hours later, the investigator called. Tessa's car was at the cabin. He could see movement inside. Bella appeared to be safe, playing in the living room while Tessa packed boxes. The lawyer worked her magic. Within an hour, she had an emergency hearing scheduled for that evening. The judge, presented with evidence of Tessa's flight risk and the documented incidents, issued a temporary order granting David emergency custody and ordering law enforcement to retrieve Bella. The drive to the cabin felt endless. David rode with the sheriff's deputies while I followed in my car. The sun was setting by the time we arrived, casting long shadows through the pine trees. I stayed back as instructed, watching from my car as the deputies approached the cabin. Through the windows, I could see Tessa's shock when she saw them. She tried to argue, gesturing wildly, but the deputies remained calm and professional. When they brought Bella out, she was crying, confused by all the uniformed strangers. David ran to her, scooping her up and holding her tight. Over his shoulder, I saw Tessa being escorted to a deputy's car. She wasn't under arrest, not yet, but she would have to appear at the custody hearing. As we convoyed back to town, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I knew without looking that it was Tessa, probably using a burner phone. "This isn't over," the message read. "You destroyed my life. I'll destroy yours." I deleted it without responding, but saved a screenshot first. Just another piece of evidence for the growing file. The custody hearing arrived faster than expected. I wore my best outfit, trying to hide the burn scars that crept up my neck. David sat with his lawyer, looking older than his years. Across the aisle, Tessa had transformed herself again. Gone was the disheveled woman from my doorstep. She looked polished, professional, every inch the devoted mother. I testified for 2 hours. Every detail from the accident, the lawsuit, the threats, the harassment. Tessa's lawyer tried to paint me as a bitter woman seeking attention, but the evidence was overwhelming. The security footage, the recorded calls, the witness statements from the moms who'd finally agreed to testify, it all painted a clear picture. When the judge announced his decision, temporary full custody to David, supervised visits only for Tessa pending substance abuse evaluation, I thought it was over. Tessa's scream of rage suggested otherwise. Security had to escort her from the courtroom as she shouted threats at everyone involved. David held Bella in the hallway, trying to shield her from her mother's meltdown. The little girl just looked confused, reaching for the woman being dragged away. That night, I finally slept peacefully. My job was still in limbo, my reputation was damaged, and my hand might never fully heal, but Bella was safe. That's what mattered. The peace lasted exactly 1 day. Saturday morning, I woke to sirens, lots of them. My apartment complex was surrounded by emergency vehicles. I threw on clothes and rushed outside to find my building in chaos. Gas leak, my neighbor explained. Someone tampered with the main line. If Mrs. Chen hadn't smelled it and called 911, the whole building could have exploded. The fire chief questioned everyone. Security footage showed a figure in dark clothing near the gas meters around 3 a.m., but the image was too grainy for identification. I knew though. We all knew. David called while I was giving my statement. His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. "She's gone," he said. "Tessa never showed up for her supervised visit. Her apartment's empty. Her car's gone. Nobody's seen her since yesterday." The police put out an alert, but Tessa had vanished. Days turned into a week with no sign of her. David installed a security system and barely let Bella out of his sight. I stayed with friends, too paranoid to return to my apartment even after the gas line was fixed. Then Sarah called with news that changed everything. "I just saw her," she whispered. "Tessa, she's at the mall, but she's different. Her hair's dyed black and she's lost weight. I don't think she saw me." Within minutes, David's investigator was on his way, but by the time he arrived, Tessa was gone again. Security footage confirmed Sarah's sighting. It was definitely Tessa, transformed but recognizable. She was still in town, still watching, still planning. The investigator increased surveillance, but Tessa had learned from her mistakes. She used cash only, stayed in different motels, changed her appearance regularly. The only consistent thing was her obsession. She was spotted near David's house, my workplace, Bella's daycare, always watching from a distance. 2 weeks after she disappeared, I made a decision. I couldn't live in fear forever. I returned to my apartment, went back to fighting for my job, tried to reclaim some normalcy. David thought I was crazy, but I was tired of letting Tessa control my life. That's when she made her next move. I was making breakfast when my phone rang. David's number, but when I answered, it was Bella's voice. Helper lady? Mommy says we're going on an adventure. My blood turned to ice. I heard rustling, then Tessa's voice, artificially sweet. Say goodbye to your friend, sweetie. We won't see her for a while. The line went dead. I immediately called David, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Racing to his house, I found the front door wide open. David was on the kitchen floor, holding his head. Blood seeped between his fingers. She hit me with something. He groaned as I helped him sit up. Came through the back while I was making coffee. Took Bella. I called 911 while pressing a dish towel to his head. The gash wasn't deep, but head wounds bleed like crazy. While we waited for the ambulance, I checked the security cameras. The footage showed Tessa entering through the back gate at 6:47 a.m., carrying what looked like a tire iron. The police arrived with the paramedics. This time, they took it seriously. Assault, violation of a custody order, kidnapping. Real charges with real consequences. An Amber Alert went out within the hour. David refused to go to the hospital until the detective finished taking his statement. I drove behind the ambulance, my hands shaking on the wheel. At the emergency room, they stitched him up and ran tests for a concussion. He kept asking every nurse if they'd heard anything about Bella. Sarah called while we were waiting for the CT results. She was at a rest stop 2 hours north and had just seen Tessa's car. Not the one we knew about. A different vehicle, older model sedan with mud covering the license plate. She's in the bathroom with Bella right now, Sarah whispered. What should I do? I put her on speaker so David could hear. He tried to get up, but the nurse pushed him back down. Don't confront her, I said. Can you follow them? See where they go? Sarah agreed to try. She had her teenage son with her, heading to visit colleges. They could trail Tessa without being obvious. I gave her the detective's number and told her to stay safe. The next hour crawled by. David's scan came back clear. No bleeding, just a mild concussion. As soon as he was discharged, we drove to the police station. The detective had set up a command center, coordinating with state police and tracking Sarah's updates. Tessa was heading northwest, taking back roads. Sarah's son was smart, staying several cars behind and switching positions occasionally. They'd stopped for gas once, and Sarah managed to get a clear photo of the license plate. The car was registered to someone named Patricia Morse. The detective's fingers flew over her keyboard, pulling up information. Patricia Morse had died 3 months ago. Her family had reported her car stolen from a hospice parking lot. She's been planning this for months, David said, his voice hollow. By noon, Sarah reported that Tessa had turned onto a forestry road. She couldn't follow without being noticed, so she marked the location and pulled back. Within 20 minutes, police units were converging on the area. The detective let us monitor the radio chatter. Officers were setting up roadblocks, sealing off escape routes. A helicopter was en route. They'd identified 3 cabins in that section of forest, all rentals. One had been paid for in cash last week by someone matching Tessa's description. David gripped my good hand so tight it hurt. Neither of us spoke. The radio crackled with updates. Officers approaching the cabin. Vehicle confirmed in the driveway. Movement inside, then silence. Long, agonizing silence. Subject in custody, came the eventual report. Child is safe. Requesting medical to check her out. David collapsed against me, sobbing. I held him while he shook, my own eyes burning with tears I wouldn't let fall. Not yet. Not until I knew Bella was really okay. The drive to the rural police station took forever. David called his lawyer, his parents, his sister. I drove in silence, processing everything that had happened. 6 months ago, I'd just been a physical therapist who avoided confrontation. Now I was neck deep in custody battles and police investigations. We weren't allowed to see Bella immediately. She needed to be examined, interviewed gently by specialists. Tessa was in custody, but her new lawyer was already making noise about rights violations and improper procedures. Finally, a social worker brought Bella out. She ran to David, wrapping her tiny arms around his neck. Over his shoulder, she saw me and reached out one hand. Helper lady, come too, she said. I hugged them both, careful of David's bandaged head. Bella seemed okay, chattering about the camping trip Mommy had taken her on. She didn't understand why there were so many police officers or why Daddy was crying. The next few days blurred together. Tessa was charged with assault, custodial interference, and child endangerment. Her bail was set high enough that even if she could access hidden funds, she'd stay locked up until trial. The investigation revealed she'd been planning this for months, slowly moving money, establishing fake identities, researching places to hide. My suspension at work was lifted after the police confirmed the security footage had been doctored. Someone had spliced together clips from different days to make it look like I was in the medication room. The IT specialist who examined it said it was sophisticated work, probably hired out to someone with real skills. David and Bella stayed with his parents while he reinforced security at his house. I went back to my apartment, though I installed new locks and a camera system. The other moms from the playgroup started a rotation, helping with Bella when David had to work or meet with lawyers. A week after the arrest, I got an unexpected call. Tessa wanted to see me. Her lawyer said she had something important to tell me, something about the accident. Against everyone's advice, I agreed to go. The jail visiting room was depressing, all scratched plexiglass and uncomfortable chairs. Tessa looked smaller in the orange jumpsuit, her dyed hair growing out at the roots. When she sat down across from me, I barely recognized the polished mommy blogger from before. I wasn't hammered that day, she said without preamble. The day of the accident, I'd taken pills, benzos, been taking them for years. I waited, not trusting myself to speak. I started after Bella was born. Postpartum anxiety. 1 med became 2, 2 became 4. By the time of the accident, I was taking 10 times the prescribed dose just to feel normal. She laughed bitterly. Perfect mommy blogger with a perfect life, popping pills like candy. When you saved Bella, when everyone called you a hero, I panicked. If the truth came out, I'd lose everything. So I tried to destroy you instead. Why tell me now? I asked. She shrugged. My lawyer says showing remorse might help at sentencing. Plus, you deserve to know. You saved my daughter when I was too high to do it myself. I left without saying goodbye. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and finally let myself cry. For Bella, for David, even for Tessa. For the whole mess that started with one moment of choosing to run toward danger instead of away. The trial took 3 months to schedule. In that time, life found a new rhythm. I worked 4 days a week, slowly building back strength in my damaged hand. David and I became friends, bonded by trauma, but growing into something genuine. Bella started calling me Aunt Helper, which made me laugh every time. Tessa pled guilty to avoid a longer sentence, 3 years, with possibility of parole in 18 months if she completed rehab and parenting classes. David got full custody with no visitation until Tessa completed her programs and passed regular substance tests. The day after sentencing, I was at the park with Bella while David met with with his lawyer about divorce papers. She was conquering the monkey bars, determined to make it all the way across despite her small hands. On her 5th try, she succeeded, dropping to the ground with a triumphant shout. "I did it! Did you see?" "I saw," I said, high-fiving her with my good hand. "You're getting so strong." She beamed up at me, then grew serious. "Will you always watch me be strong?" I thought about everything that had led to this moment. The crash, the fire, the lawsuits, the threats, the long journey from that Tuesday when I'd almost walked past a burning car. "Yeah," I told her, "I'll always watch." David arrived then, divorce papers signed and filed. He scooped Bella up, spinning her around while she squealed. Watching them, I felt something settle in my chest. Not quite peace. There was still too much ahead for that, but maybe the beginning of it. My hand would never fully heal. Tessa would get out eventually. The scars, inside and out, would always be there, but Bella was safe. That's what mattered. Sometimes the best endings aren't endings at all. They're just another beginning. Messier, but more real than any fairy tale. Standing in that park, watching a little girl I'd pulled from a burning car play with her father, I figured that was enough.